In this tutorial, you will learn how to make a contingency table or two-way table in Excel, as well as a 100% stacked bar chart or a mosaic plot. First, I'm going to select the two variables that I'm interested in, which in this case are phone type and impact of social networking. So I'm going to highlight my two columns, and then I'm going to copy and paste them into a new worksheet. Now I'm going to build my table. I'll highlight my two columns, select Insert and Pivot Table. I'm going to create my table in my current worksheet, so I'll choose Existing Worksheet, and then for location, I will select any spot in this sheet and click OK. To build my table, I'll take phone type and I'll drag it into rows. Then I'll select Impact of Social Networking and drag it into columns. To get my counts, I will select phone type and drag it again into values. I could have also dragged impact of social networking down into values as well. You can see here I have a table of counts because at the top of my table it says count of phone type. If your data was coded, so instead of it saying better, no impact, or worse, you potentially had the values 1, 2, and 3, Excel will occasionally default to sums instead of counts. You can tell because your grand total should be your number of cases, which here I had 76 values, so my grand total is 76 cases. If this does not match your number of cases, then you can select in the values section next to count, or it would say sum of phone type otherwise, you can select the icon and check value field settings. If it does not say count, you would want to change it to count and click OK. You can also make other adjustments to your table using the values menu. So click again next to count of phone type and select value field settings. On a Mac, this will look slightly different, but you will have an option to change how your values are shown. I'm going to do some different calculations. So first I'll select, instead of no calculation, percentage of grand total. Doing this changes my chart so that each value is represented as percentages. This percentage for each set of responses will add up to the 100% grand total of my chart. If I choose instead of percentage grand total, but I choose percentage of column total, now each column will add up to 100%. If I instead chose to show the values as percentages of row totals, now I will see going across, my percentages will add up to 100% for each row. I'm going to change back to the default of no calculation for the rest of this video. If I want to use my table further, I will want to remove these blank labels. So click on either the row labels or column labels icon, and then check where it says blank to remove the blank. Next, I want to copy and paste my table to remove the pivot table formatting. So I'm going to highlight my table, I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it as values. So you can right click or control click on a Mac and then select values to paste. This removes the pivot table formatting, and it'll make making my table and chart together easier. I'm going to remove some of these labels I don't want for my final table, and then I'm going to update my text to make it a little more visually pleasing. So I'll highlight and change these to capitalize the words, and then I can also change other things about my table, such as I can highlight it and change some of the formatting. If I highlight my cells, I can add borders to it, and so on. Once you have the look of your table, then you could copy and paste this into another document. Now that I have my table set up, I will make my chart. So I'm going to highlight all of my data, except I will exclude the grand totals from it. Note that I am not highlighting from my pivot table, I'm highlighting from my final table. I'm going to include the labels as well so that Excel will add them to my chart. Now I will go to Insert, and under Insert Column and Bar Chart, I will go to 2D Column and the last option, which says 100% Stacked Column. In this chart, you can see now that I have my 3 comparison groups, better, no impact, and worse, across my bottom axis. And then for each of the responses, I can compare the percentage of users who were Android versus iPhone users who made those responses. If you look at the chart, you can see how these percentages compare. Here we had an equal number of no impact responses for Android and iPhone users, so we have 50% Android and 50% iPhone. The 100% refer to the total number here that responded to better, the total who responded to no impact, and the total who responded to worse. So for this example, I'm comparing the percentages of column totals. If I wanted to reverse my chart and show the opposite, I can select my chart, go to Chart Design, and I can switch rows and columns. Switching rows and columns, now you can see that this 100% is showing for the Android smartphone the comparison of percentages of people who said better, worse, or no impact. It is typically preferred to show the chart with a fewer number of categories vertically, so I'm going to reverse my chart back by selecting Switch Row and Column again to what I had originally. Which way you display your chart is up to you and what question you are trying to answer. If I wanted to change anything on my chart, I could double click. First, I'll select my chart title and change this to Impact of Social Networking by Phone Type. I can also select Add Chart Element to change other parts of my chart.